Okay, hello and welcome to Cloud4's presentation at the EAPRIL 2020 virtual conference. My name is Zarina Charlesworth and I will be presenting today together with my colleague Els Lannens. We're pleased to be here and happy that you have decided to join us. Our presentation today is entitled Sensemaking, Connecting to the Emerging Future, Opening the Way for Innovation and Creativity in Education. All things, especially the emerging future, that are particularly pertinent in today's new normal. The journey that we're going to take you on today will allow us to share our vision of Cloud4 with you and what it is built upon. We will start with the concept of sense-making before looking at how Theory U can open the way to the emerging future and creativity and innovation. You will have the opportunity to imagine at least one aspect of tomorrow and take a mini action plan away with you. Hopefully, we will also have time for an interactive discussion before you leave. But first, a few brief introductions. I am a professor of management at the University of Applied Sciences in Western Switzerland. My academic background is in anthropology, education, and business administration. However, my research is focused on innovation in education since 2013, with a particular emphasis on digitalization and the digital classroom. My colleague Els, who will be speaking in just a minute, is a professor of mathematics and computer science at the University of Antwerp in Belgium. She founded Cloud4 to improve learning and well-being in education through awareness-based innovation. She is currently involved in Otto Scharmer's social field research team at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I'll now pass the floor to Els.
Hello, dear colleagues. I would like to illustrate the intention of Cloud4 with this matrix, which shows the evolution of the educational system as a transformation process that revolves around the relationship between learner and educator and between learner and fellow learners. The first two levels we all know very well. Education 1.0 is teacher-centric. The educator is the authority. Education 2.0 is testing and output-oriented. The educator taking the role of the expert and the learners memorizing input. Currently, most of our educational systems have moved to this space. But we need two more levels to be able to talk about excellent education. The better schools and educators have moved to Education 3.0, to a more learning-centric architecture. And only the most innovative schools and educators are beginning to move into Education 4.0, which focuses on co-sensing and co-shaping the future, co-creating new realities, and on activating the deeper sources of our creativity and our humanity. The relationship between the learners and the educators is here more co-creative. Important aspects of Education 4.0 are learning from the emerging future, the learner as co-creator of powerful learning environments, the educator as a generative coach, and co-shaping a better future. Back to you, Zarina.
Okay, thank you very much, Els. The question is, though, how does one go through these four stages? How do you get to the stage where you're looking at the emerging future and you feel comfortable with it? So Cloud4 has actually got some bricks and mortar that we've built it on. We started by looking at sense-making, which Wyke talked about first in the 1990s, before we will look at leaning into the future, innovation and creativity, and finally look at well-being. Starting with sense-making, why we chose this and why we think it's so pertinent is because it's a process that looks at conscious rational thought to analyze and bring order to confusion and the unknown. It was first explored in the 1990s in the area of expatriation, later in organizations, and has only recently been referred to in the education literature. It's something that we have been experiencing in recent years, with things increasing in speed, but especially in this year, a rather difficult year for a lot of people, because there is a lot of confusion and a lot of surprise. The properties of sense-making call upon people to look at their identity and the role they play. It's based on patterns that people have come to replicate. It's related to where and how we grew up and to those around us. It is ongoing, and it allows for meaning to emerge as things change and evolve. It uses clues from actions, so it means that you can test things. You get clues, it adds to your repertoire, and you can keep going into the future because you are testing things. It is driven by plausibility rather than accuracy, so it allows for confusion. With confusion comes also unknown, and structuring this unknown calls for introspection, asking oneself, can I do this? How am I going to do this? What should I do? And maybe even saying, I can't do this, which means that perhaps that one needs to collaborate with students, with colleagues, even with strangers to move forward. It means listening to one's own needs and to the needs of others, so that one can move into this unknown, move into or move out of one's zone of comfort and be really an actor in change. Education today is calling out for change. So we're inviting you to cross the threshold, and my colleague Els will tell you more about how to do that.
Yes, to introduce you to TREU, a powerful tool and a social technology for profound awareness-based innovation and for Education 4.0, we would like to start with the insight that we are each two. Indeed, we are not one, but two, because of the evolving nature of every human being. On the hill on the left-hand side, you see our current selves, the persons we have become through our journey of the past. On the hill on the right side, you see our other selves, the persons that we can become as we journey into the future, our highest future possibility selves. When your two selves talk to each other, you experience the essence of presencing at the bottom of the you. When our current and future selves begin to communicate, we establish a subtle but very real link to our highest future possibility that can then begin to help and guide us in situations in which the past can't offer us useful advice. Presencing is the result of moving down the left side of the U by tuning three instruments that each of us already has: an open mind, an open heart, and an open will. The open mind allows us to see with fresh eyes and is based on the ability to access our intellectual type of intelligence, or IQ. The open heart allows us to sense from the field and is related to the ability to access our emotional intelligence, or EQ. And the open will, which allows us to let go of the past and to lean into the future, is related to the ability to access our authentic purpose and self, our spiritual intelligence, or SQ. We can tune each of these instruments on an individual as well as on a collective level. And the right-hand side of the U is all about acting in an instant and learning by doing, in crystallizing vision and intention, and in prototyping living microcosms of the new. I hand it back to you, Zarina.
Okay, thank you, Els. As you can see in this diagram, and as Els mentioned at the beginning, there are two parts of us. There's the past and there's the future. We would invite you now to think about turning the camera around and looking back at your past. There is a video and excerpt taken from the overview effect, which you can look at after this session, which is taken from one of the Apollo missions where they looked back at the Earth. So you need to imagine that you are out in space and you're looking back and you can see our blue planet floating in the dark. And I think Els has a few words that are taken from that she would like to share with you.
Thank you, Zarina. One of the astronauts in the video clip said, "When we originally went to the moon, our total focus was on the moon. We weren't thinking of looking back at the Earth. But now that we have done it, that may well have been the most important reason we went." Not only the astronauts, but also people on Earth following this on TV were in awe by the beauty of the planet and in shock by our unintended collective impact. In many ways, what happened in this journey to the moon is also applicable to the individual lives of many of us. We are currently facing new challenges and new situations that invite us to stop and turn the camera around and ask the two root questions of creativity on an individual as well as on a collective level. Who am I, or who are we? And what is my, or what is our real work? No one can be teaching you this. So now we move into a journaling practice where we will look inward in order to impact outward. The practice that we're going to use now to give you the possibility to set your own intention is called journaling. You need paper and a pen. And if you don't have that, now would be the moment to hit the pause button and to equip yourself with these two tools. Here is the main trick about journaling. You put your pen on your paper and you just start writing. In other words, journaling is not, let me think about a really brilliant idea, and once it's fully hatched in my mind, I put it down on paper. Journaling is, you don't know what you're going to write. You just write, which triggers another quality of thinking within your mind. I'm going to give you a set of 9 questions, one at a time, and for each one I will give you about half a minute or so. What you do is you just number your responses. There's no need to write down the full questions, for they will be posted on the EAPRIL website. So let me first invite you to open your mind with curiosity, to open your heart with empathy, and to open your will with courage, so that all levels of intelligence can participate and you don't exclude future possibilities from the very start of the process. Here comes question number 1. So immediately after I read the question, you put your pen on paper and start journaling. What about your current work frustrates you the most? And I will give you now half a minute or so to write your answer. Question number 2. What are your most important sources of energy and happiness in your work? Number 3. Where do you feel the future in your work right now? Number 4. From where you are right now, what is your sense of your highest future possibility in your work? Question number 5. What do you want to accomplish in your professional life? Or what do you want to be in service of? What is your intention? Question number 6. What would you have to let go of in order to bring your intention into reality? What is the old stuff that must die? What is the old skin, old behaviors, old assumptions that you need to shed? Question number 7. Who can help you make your highest future possibility a reality? Who might be your co-helpers and partners? Number 8. What intention are you taking away from this session? And number 9, Our last question is, what practical first steps would you take over the next 3 days? Just note down a few possible first steps. And that is the end of our journaling practice. Thank you for participating. I hand it back to Zarina now.
Okay, thank you very much, Els. I hope that for those of you who have tried this journaling practice for the first time, or even for those of you who've done it before, that was an interesting session. I hope it's allowed you to look back over the past in order to better jump into the future. And as we said at the very beginning, the idea is that you do have a takeaway from this session, that you have put down some practical first steps that you will be able to start with today or tomorrow or in the weeks that come. Sometimes just putting things down on paper helps move into the future. And as Elle said, this brings us to the end of our session. You can find us either at the LinkedIn groups, which is shown on the screen, is a Cloud 4 group. You can also find that by going through EAPRIL.org Cloud 4, and you can click on LinkedIn, and that will take you to LinkedIn. You can reach us at my email or Elle's email. We welcome any questions. If you would like to know anything more about what we were talking about today, if you're interested in joining Cloud 4, well, please do. So glad to have been here today for you. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Yeah, thank you for participating and all the best to you. Bye.